Well, here I am again. It's amazing. This thing says I'm live. It also skipped 7 seconds, and I don't know why it did that. But I'm supposed to be alive. Moderation participants. Mission activity. Timestamps. Reactions. Chats. Feedback. Right. Never mind. Okay, that's just me wandering around doing stupid bullshit in case you're interested just then. Oh, we talked about, in my posted video, we talked about Plato. Now, I don't know a lot about his philosophy, but I know the school in Texas went out and decided that he wasn't conducive and they banned him. And I've never heard of Plato being banned in modern times. You know, uh, by anybody, communist, Russia, no matter what. He's thought he was a good, smart man. And his philosophy, and he's a philosopher, which means he's a great bullshit artist, just like me. Only I'm not a philosopher because I don't have any particular philosophy to expand on, except bullshit, And hey, that's working pretty good for me so far. You know what I'm saying? But you have a lot of politicians that don't want certain things done. And you go down to Florida and look at all the books the schools have banned in Florida. I think they even banned Anne Rice. I'm not sure. To me, this is just the most entertaining books around, Interview with a Vampire. But somehow or another, they say that's a political. They're making political statements, or they're teaching children to be violent and suck on people's necks or stuff like that. I don't understand that. You know, um, fantasy is good for the mind because fantasy stimulates the imagination. The imagination is good for the mind and it's good for the country because if you have an imagination, sooner or later, you're going to invent something or you're going to have a good idea that's going to help the country, the world, whatever. And it does good. I don't know whether my imagination does any good or not. I'm basically here to fill an emotional need in my life. That's that. To be able to talk to people, in English. And this is basically helping me remain sane, I think. Bye, Lucy. Big stretch, walks away. She's on a mission. I don't know where she's going, but she's on a mission. Uh, but it's hey, what can I tell you? It's a calling. Let's say, Uh, I've wanted to do this ever since this was around. I started writing a blog for a long time on WordPress, but that just got to be a drag. That's even worse because I don't type well. That would take me hours to do. I'm not a, you know, and I make a ton of mistakes, and then I have to go back and correct everything because it's like when I write faster than I can think. It's like this, and you can't read it when I'm done. I have to sit there for hours and decipher it, and retype it, rewrite it, and everything. So it's just kind of, this is sort of a lazy thing for me, really. It requires very little effort on my part, other than to sit in a chair, look good, which obviously I do. I look good. What do you want now? Excuse me a minute. What do you want? Okay. Where'd you go? What happened? You wanted to go out to the patio and they wouldn't let you on the patio? That's not my fault. What'd you do wrong? Huh? What'd you do wrong? Huh? What'd you do wrong? You do anything wrong? No, you don't do nothing wrong. You're too good. You never do anything wrong. You have accidents or sometimes or something, but you never do anything deliberately wrong. All right? Now, this is being very impolite. I'm talking to you and I'm not talking to my friends out there. Okay. Bye. She's going to tell me she wants to go out again. She pooped 3 times this morning. She can't want to go out again. If she's doing that again, she's sick, and I hate that. It means I got to call a vet and argue with my wife. You're going to call a vet? Did you call a vet? This is going for a day or two before I lose my temper. But it's where I regret not being more fluent in Spanish than I am, you know. Uh, so, anyhow, what was it? Oh, I forgot. So I'll just forget and keep on going. Oh, we're talking about Plato. I don't understand that. You know, I didn't understand Neil Gaiman being banned. You know, although from a political point, he has said some things outside of his books that are, you know, American Gods is a great book to read. You know, he has characters that he's, you know, created and whatnot, um, and he writes. He's a fantasy writer more than anything else, and you gotta, you know, yeah, when you're dealing with fantasy writers, you're dealing with when you look at it, it's a lot of it's personal viewpoint, you know. And if you take away that this is anti-government and everything, well, then it's anti-government. To me, it's just entertainment. Books are entertainment. They stimulate my mind, you know. Unless I'm looking for an answer to a problem, and books are something else altogether. Again. But my basic use for books is entertainment. I read mystery novels, mostly mystery novels. I read some science fiction. Um, But I like my science fiction and comic books. I like to read science fiction for some reason doesn't translate uh, from the word to my mind real well. I like to see it and get an idea what they're talking about, you know, and then my imagination goes from there. But that's, you know, that's just the way I operate. That doesn't have to be the way you operate. I I don't know. I think that this is just what can I tell you? You know, it's it is what it is. You know, and my sitting here and discussing things, disgusting. I don't understand though. Somebody, you know, I know I get like this every once in a while. So calm down, people. It's not me losing my mind. It's just they farted or something. You know, the idea that Plato is anti whatever the reason that they use to um, ban him is basically saying you're banning free thought. Okay, and they did. Florida is good for this. DeSantis would have been worse as president than Trump because he's a true vicious prick. But he bans these books, and the local school boards ban these books down there because somebody doesn't like it. And I discovered that. It's like Facebook. I discovered on Facebook. I have a piece. Let me see if I can take this off the wall and show you something. Hold on a minute. Here we go. Now this is one of my wood carvings. Okay, this is called relief carving. I actually turned it into a 3D piece, and then I pasted it on here, glued it to here, and made it a relief carving. Facebook says that this doesn't. I tried to advertise it, and they made me take the advertisement down and everything. They make me take when I posted it. They made me take it down because they said it doesn't meet their standards of integrity or whatever it is, you know. And you know, I didn't say anything. I just took it down. I protested it. I said, you know, you people, until I learned what's going on. All right. What happens with stuff like this is it takes one person. All right. Not even a follower of yours. Not even somebody you know. It takes one person to complain, and then it takes the person that's reviewing it can be friends with the person that complained, and the next thing you know, you're banned. There's no real discussion about it. There's no real ability to protest this. What's wrong with that? It does not demonstrate universal. Shows her ass. Big deal. You know, it's almost abstract, and there's pieces of work out there, and I think this is one of them that's very famous, and I think that's what I copied when I did that design, where I used that a photo of something very very So I'm not copyrighted though, but something that was unique. And I'm going, and I sat there for a long time trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And then I figured it out. So I did it because I complained about somebody, and the next day they took it down. Okay, you complain about an ad, the next day it's gone. So if you complain, they react instantaneously. So if somebody complained about that, and then the review board, I don't know where they were. They were probably asleep someplace, or busy with their hand out. Because that's just the way it's just the way it appeared to me. I sorry, but that's come on, move. Don't get old, folks. Um, but that's the way it was. What do you want? What do you want? You want to be a star? You're a star. Smile. Look who's there. See? She's smiling. You can't see it, but she's smiling. So anyhow, removing philosophers and banning books and whatnot is stupid. Because if you want your book to sell a million copies, go get it banned in Florida, or go get it banned in one state. And the next thing you know, it's a bestseller, and everybody's talking about it. Gaiman had some other problems, and I'm not sure if I remember correctly. I don't want to say anything because I'm not sure, but he was on some sort of investigation, but that had nothing to do with writing, his personal behavior. All right, the prosecutor, the second man in charge of the DOJ, resigned. And the first one person that's supposed to be in charge was told that she was illegally appointed, and she had to leave, which she has never left. She just hangs around and collects money and looks stupid. But the reason some people think to seem that he resigned was that he was overwhelmed. He was actually doing the running day-to-day operations of the Justice Department because number one lady was not supposed to touch anything. I don't know. That's another story altogether. And she was illegally appointed, so she can't really do anything. That's the Supreme Court said that, I believe. So now you're sitting there and you got the second guy, and he's trying to do all this stuff. And he said he was originally there to take the Comey trial. And he's working on that, and then he had all this other crap thrown at him. He has to make the day-to-day decisions, and apparently it got to be a little much for him, and it wouldn't give him any relief whatsoever. So they did what they do. He just got fed up and said, "Screw this! I'm out of here." They don't know what they're doing. It's apparently it's not a very well run, smooth operation over there, and this going around and suing everybody and arresting people and charging all government officials and stuff is getting a little out of hand for him. So anyhow, he's done, and they're moving on. And of course, I talked about the anti-government protests in Iran and the ironic hypocrisy, of Trump, who hates protesters with a passion, is now taking their side and saying to them, "Don't worry, we're coming." Look, idiot, you went to Iraq. Mistake. There were no weapons of mass destruction. To this day, they haven't found anything that could be used as a weapon of mass destruction, except maybe a machine gun. Okay. So that's their weapons of mass destruction. Anyhow, they went around and they removed, can't remember the guy's name, but they got rid of the guy there, and they put other people in charge. And what they did is they destabilized the whole region because the conflict that existed between Iran and Iraq was actually stabilizing the region. Iran was too busy worrying about Iraq to develop their nuclear power and whatnot. It put them way down here. And then as soon as Iraq was no longer a problem for them, Iran went like this with nuclear. And now Iran was our problem. And they've been a problem since we got rid of the Shah. They're basically a religious state. And those guys that are in charge don't like us. You know, it's a funny thing. Most religions are very tolerating of other religions. But then you have a few, like within the Muslim community, or Islam, I guess you'd say. Not, I don't know which way how you ever want to call them, but and you have a few in that community that translate the Quran and said the Quran says kill infidels. Well, it might say that, but not that. It doesn't mean that what it says it means. It's remove all infidels. I think it says, and they take that to mean kill all infidels, and so they come across with this philosophy that we're infidels and we need to be dead, be overrun. They're never going to do that. They're always going to be a third-rated religion behind behind. I say what you no. There's this actually. I think they're number one. What am I talking? Muslims are number one. I think Catholicism's number two, and Judaism's number three are lower because that's just that's a tough religion to follow. So the protesters are that. Trump doesn't like. Trump supports the protesters. Meanwhile, in this country, he's arresting protesters for uh, disagreeing with him. Individuals and groups of people that disagree with him are being arrested. Welcome to fascism, folks. Oh well, if I probably was in the United States, and if I was probably younger and I was more active than I am now, and on a much larger social scale, I'd probably be arrested by now. I don't say anything really bad, but I do disagree mostly with the philosophy that's going on in this country. So anyhow, you have to understand that some of Trump's ideas might be a good thing if you applied them differently. That you didn't get so restrictive or something like that. You still give people choices, which they don't seem to have anymore. Anyhow, I'm leaving now. Go find the subscribe button, hit it, please. Hit the like button. I think you can do that here. I think you can go down to the chat and like me and everything. Whatever they want. I have to try some of this stuff out. We'll have to wait and see. All right, that's it. I'm on my way out the door. I'll talk to you tomorrow.